We live in a world where men have become used to feeling powerful and superior.
We want justice. We want respect. That's all we want.
They have to stop murdering us, stop oppressing us.
The names of murdered women, hundreds of them. The patriarchy must go. A green wave is spreading across Latin America. Women are demanding a revolution. They want to make their own decisions about their bodies and their lives. Opponents are also mobilizing. Churches have allied themselves with ultra-conservatives. This is a fight over women's rights. They want to change the world. For 30 years, women in Argentina have been fighting to legalize abortion. The green scarf has become the symbol of the movement. Until today, abortion has been a criminal offense with very few exceptions. Women seeking to end a pregnancy are forced to break the law, sometimes resorting to dangerous methods.
This means having freedom of choice over your own body, over your life plans. It means that women can escape motherhood as a duty imposed by patriarchy. This matter is at the heart of the political order. Who decides over pregnant bodies?
Hola, mis amores, ¿cómo están? ¿Cómo están haciendo? Hi, my loves. How are you doing today? So I'm back with another video, podcast. Okay. Here on this channel, we talk about anything and everything related to the girlies. I posted in the shorts section, in my shorts section, get caught up on the shorts if you haven't. I posted some really insane stories that have been in the news in the shorts section. If you haven't seen that, girl, make sure to get caught up on that and stay tuned in the shorts section as well as the community section, the community posts as well. I post a lot of updates on the community section as well. We're going to be doing more exclusive content for exclusive members where we dive in more depth talking about some of these things. So I'm going to be doing content for exclusive members where we're able to kind of dive in a little bit deeper because some of this stuff we can't necessarily just openly talk about. You know what I mean? So it's insane. Leave it in the comments below if you have particular subjects. It's wild, y'all. It's wild. So let's see what we can find and let's jump right in. Don't forget to smash that like button for me. Okay. Love you so much. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button for me as well. And the notification bell so you don't miss a podcast every time that it comes out. Okay. Also, links are below in the description. The Patreon is now up. Take a look at what the different tiers are. There's also coaching as to how to navigate through these hard times, these very scary times for women, life coaching in general, especially with trying to figure this out. Links below to the Patreon. If you haven't checked that out, go ahead and check it out. We just opened it. We're so excited about it. It's a support system that we've been putting together for a long time now. We've been kind of building it for quite some time. So we're really excited to continue to build it and to finally launch free newsletters. You can sign up for those at our website, link below as well. All the other socials are also linked below. So make sure to follow on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. We're now on Blue Sky as well. So thank you so much for your support. Well, let's go ahead and dive into this whole situation, okay? Because it's totally insane. It's totally crazy.
The green scarf has spread from Argentina to all of Latin America. The green wave is the symbol of a new feminist movement.
The right to have an abortion gives you the opportunity to decide for yourself.
Is that a cost? So many people have said, feminism is over because we're talking about sexist air conditioning now. On my videos, when I've never once mentioned air conditioning as one of the issues that we need to resolve. But since you bring it up, let's talk about air conditioning. This is a recognised phenomenon that offices particularly, but rooms and homes as well, the air temperature is usually kept about 2 degrees too cold for the average woman to feel comfortable, which is a comfortable temperature for most men. It's not that heating or air conditioning is sexist, it's that men are the barometer for what is the dictated comfort level. We see this because it works both ways. In countries where you have to heat, then the temperature is left too low, and you could be like, oh, well, that's, is that a cost thing? Is that a cost issue? They're keeping costs down by not heating the room. But then we see the flip side when, if it requires air conditioning, it will be kept too cold. So that uses more power. So it's not a costing issue necessarily. It's looking at the comfort levels of men and sustaining those. This isn't to say that necessarily it should be corrected so that women are the default comfortable temperature. It's just an example of how men currently are the default. Examples of centering are particularly good for thought experiments. If the temperature that was most comfortable for a man was actually a couple of degrees higher, then we probably would afford the extra costs in heating, or we probably wouldn't utilize as much air conditioning. It's not a top priority issue. It's a demonstration of patriarchy in action. Because why should men be the default over women, or why have they been? But then we have to look at a long history, a very nuanced history of patriarchy, and analyze why even in female-dominated sectors where there might be more women than men are in the office, the default comfort level is still on a male barometer. So it's not even, utilitarian. It's a way to examine internalized bias. It's not a, what do we do about it, fix a problem. It's a, look how the world has been shaped by this particular set of values and ideas. So
society fetishizes female pain. Our biology is weaponized against us to maximize our painful experiences. Medically, the IUD insertion process is maximized to be as painful as possible, almost simulating labor. And ironically, it's when a woman is choosing to opt out of childbearing. Misogyny is implemented in medical infrastructure to maximize our pain. And not to mention that lying on your back has been proven to be one of the worst ways to give birth, but that is customary because anything otherwise would be unsightly. Because the last thing society needs is for a woman who's giving birth to look too animalistic. Or how it is expected when a woman has sex for the first time for it to be a painful experience. Otherwise, her virginity is questioned, and in many parts of the world, that is life-threatening. Or for instance, in our media, how often do we see depictions of women being brutalized by men? And think of how often these women who are being brutalized are unnecessarily unclothed or scantily clad at the very least. Graphic depictions of women being violated in one form or another abounds in media. Some of it admittedly has to do with the idea that women are more innocent and are in need of protection more than men, and that men will systemically harm women. But at the same time, when we see these male directors showing these incidents, it's not from the female gaze, it's from the male gaze. Femininity is performative. Every aspect of womanhood is like there's a camera on us at all times. That male director, that male gaze, and we're the actresses and the stars. But why is it so radical to suggest that a woman not being in physical pain, specifically as it relates to her reproductive organs, so radical? But it's not just men. There are also women who reinforce the idea that women should suffer. Like, I've seen so many women shame women for opting to use pain medicines during birth. And it is seen as more natural if she goes through the full process unmedicated. When every woman's birth is different, every woman's body is different, every woman's pain tolerance is different. We shouldn't judge women for needing that. But you know what I think? I think it's because society wants to punish women for being sexual. They don't want it to be this pleasurable experience for us. So at every step of the way, they'll make it harder for us than they would for men. That's misogyny.
So we're learning about radical feminist theory and the concept that all heterosexual relationships with men are inherently misogynistic and patriarchal. And at first I thought they were bugging, but what I think is even more bugging now is the idea that that belief is radical. When I first read it, I read it in grad school, I thought it was a little bit extreme, like ain't no way all heterosexual relationships. But now I'm like, no, like, of course, obviously, misogyny is embedded in our system. We're indoctrinated by it. If women, right, we have internalized misogyny, internalized patriarchal beliefs, why the hell wouldn't men when they benefit from those things? And not just romantic relationships. I mean, romantic, sexual, platonic, familial, co-worker relationship. All of those inherently have a level of misogyny that needs to be unpacked in the same way that white people inherently have some racism that they're gonna have to unpack. But then the question becomes, okay, what do we do with this information? Like, do we never have relationships with men? And valid.
Okay, this is literally my bread and butter, so let's talk about it. But whenever moms tell their little girls that, oh, if whoever Mary doesn't like you, it's because she's jealous of you, it is cultivating the idea that other girls are viewing you as a threat. They are viewing you as competition. They are viewing themselves in relation to you, which is why they are envious of you. While it comes from a good place in the mother's part, because obviously they don't want their little girls to take things personally. They also want their daughters to build self-esteem and confidence. Ultimately, it is not a one-sided experience, because the same way that it is teaching you that, oh, the reason that so-and-so doesn't like you is because she thinks you're better than her, it also makes you as a little girl view yourself in relation to other girls. At the end of the day, that is the goal of patriarchy, for women to view each other as competition, as rivals, so that we cannot build camaraderie as being oppressors of the patriarchy. Also, on top of that, it doesn't really leave any room to develop self-awareness, because sometimes, don't get me wrong, like, it is a very real experience that sometimes there will be other women that may be envious of you, and maybe that's why they don't like you. But that is not a universal experience. It's not like this universal truth. It could be that people may not like you simply because they don't like you. It could be because maybe you did something that is offensive and maybe it just wasn't intentional. It could be like a plethora of things. But if you always think that, oh, if a woman doesn't like me, it's because she's jealous of me, where is there any room for self-awareness for you to, A, become a better person, and also B, develop good communication skills and relational skills in order to like cultivate real, genuine, authentic, and honest relationships with other women? It doesn't.
Let's hope YT doesn't suppress this one, because I don't know what's going on, but for some reason they don't want people knowing or speaking about South Korea. Now there's the whole thing when it comes to you guys have heard, I'm sure, about the whole UHC, United Healthcare scandal. It's so weird how they're handling that case. Like, they literally transferred this guy, this is a side note, to the same prison that Destiny is in. And they had like over 50 police officers and everything, like, escorting him over there. So people have been asking themselves how that makes any sense. Like, why are you, like, for this one little guy, like, having over 50 police officers escort him and taking pictures and posing for the photos, and then posting those photos through the media? Like, it seems to me like they're trying to send a message to regular people that if regular people try or even dare to go against the wealthy, this is how they're going to end up. I feel like it's almost like, are you trying to threaten us? Like, I'm not understanding, like, what they're trying to say, but that's what I'm taking from it, because none of it makes any sense. None of the suppression of content makes any sense unless they're trying to make sure that people don't start to protest, women don't start to protest, especially here in the US. And they're trying to, like, keep people under control, basically. That's what it seems like to me. If you haven't caught up on that podcast, make sure to catch up on the latest podcast on what's been going on in SK as well. Now, Argentina is like, you know, how do I say this kindly? You know, it's mostly, it's white. It's pretty much nothing but YT people over there, you know, in Argentina. And there's been tons of videos made about this. Apparently it's like common knowledge that Argentina, you know, probably doesn't want anybody that's not YT because they consider themselves YT. So most of the population there, like at least 95% to 99% of the population in Argentina is YT. So just disclosure there. I don't know. I just think that's like interesting. But they are facing the same thing with these issues when it comes to women's rights. And now with the new president that they have recently this year, he has moved to restrict women from having bodily autonomy. So women gained that right, I believe, around 2020 in Argentina to be able to decide whether or not they wanted to keep the child and have bodily autonomy, especially as it relates to abortions. I'm trying to say it kind of like fast and in a sleek way because these these YT podcasts, like, I don't know, they're getting suppressed. So anyway, like, they got that right in 2020, but now in 2024, the male president that they have over there has been threatening to take away that right. I believe he has taken away a lot of elements of that right. So, you know, they're kind of back to square one. They regressed by like several years, several decades, in fact, because those rights are rights that have been being fought for decades and centuries for the most part. And so they finally got it. So Argentina has actually regressed by several years because of the president that they currently have in place. Their economy is in shambles. It's been collapsed, the economy over there. It was the GDP in Argentina was negative 200. No, that's not me making up numbers. It's literally like, if you Google it, it was at like negative 200%. And since the new president, it's now at negative 164%, but it's like, actually it was at negative 290 something percent. Then it went to 200 and now it's at like negative 160 something percent. And they're trying to credit the current president for that. But it's like, when your country is like at negative 200 and something percent, like, where else do you go? There's not really anywhere else that you can go except for hopefully you tweak some things here and there and like you can get to negative 160 something percent, because negative 160 something percent of a GDP is like, it's almost like your country might as well be non-existent still. So it's not even, they're trying to be like, oh, it's, it's just a mess. It doesn't even make sense, yo. So anyway, let's see what we've got here. I spent many years complaining about being unmarried, and for the past couple of years, I've totally changed my tune. I am very content and very satisfied being single. I have to say that it is so much safer to be single than it is to be in an unhealthy relationship. It's just simply not worth your life. Exactly. Because more and more males, like we've been talking about, have been taking the lives of women shortly after marriage. So if you're thinking about getting into one of those idiotic contracts that I tell y'all not to get into, always say that. Like, even if you want to be with a male, do not get into one of those contracts. The number of women getting unalived who get into that contract has been skyrocketing. Okay. Exactly. People have tried to put me down for being single for so many years. These are the same people I know for a fact are trapped in unhappy relationships, friends and colleagues. Either they want me to be as unhappy as they are, or are hoping I tell them I'm miserable so they feel better about being in an unhappy marriage. Yeah, that's insane. Exactly. It actually is shocking how many people are so dishonest about this and will encourage others to put themselves in misery or even danger so that they can have company. Misery loves company for sure. Misery loves company for sure. Same thought, plus hearing how couples relationships really are. I wouldn't last 6 months. Many high school quality relationships. Zero respect, nothing serious. Yeah. I've been married, divorced, then unfortunately got into another long-term relationship. Been since for almost 5 years. It's so much more she means single. Now been single for almost 5 years. It's so much more peaceful. I refuse to even look these days. Yeah. People romanticize relationships like life is like a Disney movie, and then they tolerate toxic behavior and claim everything is peaches and cream. Maybe you should tell the dudes in your own group to act better instead of telling us to choose better. Ooh, what happened? Oh, this guy says maybe you should learn to pick better partners. And she says, yeah, maybe you should tell your dudes to act better instead of trying to harass us about whether or not we're picking correctly. Crazy. I met a woman at UPS one time and we got to talking while in line. She married a male she knew for 3 years, and they supposedly had a great relationship and were great friends. They married, and within 3 days, he was losing his temper and laying hands on her. She immediately moved out and divorced him. She said she had no clue he was so mental. She said it had to do with his time at Vietnam as a vet, but she had seen no indications that what he was actually like until they moved in together. That's why I always tell y'all, never move in with them. Never move in with them. Don't share anything with them. Just don't. Okay. Oh, look, another protector protecting. Remember, ladies, the most dangerous person in your life is the male you choose to be with. Be careful and always protect yourself. Yep. And if you have kids, those kids too. So when you sign up for that, that's the life that you're signing up for. Every second, every millisecond, looking over your shoulder and looking over the shoulder of your kids, because at any point in time, that male that you chose or whatever males that are in your life could assume them or do whatever it is that males do when it comes to women and children. Okay. So she's talking about a male that unalived his wife. They had just gotten married. They literally had just gotten married. They were on their honeymoon, and he unalived her on their honeymoon. He literally beat her to a pulp to the point where her face was unrecognizable. You could not even recognize her. They couldn't bury her. They had to cremate her because there's nothing they could do about how disfigured she was. So, yeah. Being married really ain't all that. Spouses think they literally own you after marriage, and it is not right. We're still talking about the same case where this male literally beat her to a pulp beyond recognition. And this literally just came out. I mean, amongst all the very, very horrific instances that have been coming out more and more lately of women that used to get, married to males. She probably threatened to leave him. That's when it's the most dangerous. Oh, yeah. What in the world is going on with people? I'm hearing something new every day. So many cases. I can't even keep up. Horrific crimes and acts between child and parent and married couples. It's insane how much anger and frustration and killing is on the rise. I told you. I keep telling y'all, like literally.